somehow. Now, you all know my guest, Scott Ritter. He used to be a United Nations weapons inspector. He's also former U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer. And they have just banned him from Twitter. I'm going to bring Scott on. How are you, Scott?
Well, I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
I'm worried. I'm worried about all this. Can I just get your initial reaction to why they booted you? I mean, you know what? I'm just going to pull up on the screen quickly the message that they sent you. So this is, if you try to go on Scott's profile, and by the way, the last time you were on the channel, I was actually telling people go follow Scott. We actually pulled up your Twitter. You know, this is.
You're to blame.
I hope not. It says account suspended, right? And the message that they gave you was that you violated their rules against abuse and harassment, allegedly. And so there was a tweet underneath about the Ukrainian National Police. You said that they committed numerous crimes against humanity in Bucha. And Biden, in seeking to shift blame for the Bucha murders onto Russia, is guilty of aiding and abetting these crimes. Congratulations, America. We've created yet another presidential war criminal. So that's what they booted you off the platform for. That's the tweet. What are your initial thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'll just start off by saying that even though Twitter is, I mean, it is what it is. It's not the center of the universe, but I think it has the potential of being a very good platform for the exchange of ideas at 288 characters per go. I take it seriously, meaning that if I'm going to put a tweet out there with my name on it, it's, look, I'm as guilty as anybody putting out a dog tweet or a cat tweet. If I wake up in the morning, my cat's doing something cute and I took a nice picture, I have no problem putting it on Twitter and saying, hey, look at my cute cat. But for the most part, you can't go wrong tweeting about a cat. But when you get involved in politics, I don't want to be someone, I have worked too long and too hard to be someone that if I speak on an issue, on a subject, I want to be taken seriously. I want to be someone that people say, he's assiduous with his facts. It doesn't mean I'm always right, but it means I always try to be right. When when you're engaged in complicated issues, it's not so much about being right. It's about being motivated to promote the pursuit of truth. And sometimes the pursuit of truth is accomplished best when you put out an idea, an interpretation, an assessment that challenges the mainstream media or the mainstream direction, the mainstream narrative, and forces people to say, let me think, got to put on my thinking cap. And then they come up with their own opinion. Their opinion may differ from yours, which is a success because they have empowered themselves with knowledge and information derived from their own work. They're not parroting something somebody told them. Yeah. And to me, it's that process of debate, dialogue, and discussion that makes democracies viable, makes functional democracies possible. And so I view Twitter as a mechanism that encourages this process. So if I'm going to put a tweet out there about a serious non-cat or non-dog issue, I'm going to make sure that I've researched it, especially on a topic like Bucha and war crimes. I can guarantee you that before I wrote down about the Ukrainian National Police being the perpetrators of numerous crimes, that I researched the subject, that I dug into various images and videotapes of the dead people. I assessed it using whatever forensic evaluation that one can in something like this. And I saw, for instance, that many of the bodies had the green dry ration packaging of the Russian of the Russian ration box.
Is
the ones
this
that the Russians are handing out.
Is this like MREs in the U.S. military? Meals ready to eat?
It's dry ration. Yeah, it's a ration pack. The Russian soldiers can get them, but they've also been used extensively to support humanitarian, civilians in need. You see the Russians in their trucks handing them out. I also noticed that many of the bodies had the white armbands on that signify people who are not a threat to Russia. And that the people that didn't have the white armbands had their hands bound behind their backs using the material that looked awfully like armbands that are no longer on their shoulder. So just a first brush, if someone said, okay, what is this scene telling you? The scene is telling me that these are pro-Russian or Russian sympathizers or people who have interacted with Russia, people who have been the benefactors of Russian humanitarian aid, and people who are heading in the direction of Russian troops. And so then you have to say, okay, who killed them? Well, I don't know by looking at that pictures, but if you're pro-Russian or Russian sympathetic, equipped with humanitarian aid provided by Russia, the odds are that the Russians didn't kill them. Now, that's not enough now to jump to the Ukrainian National Police, though. That's just setting the stage, the initial thought. But now I get the Russian orders. The orders from the Russian high command are to minimize civilian death, minimize damage to civilian infrastructure. So I see intent. The commander's intent going down to the Russian soldier normally would be translated into actions that reflect that intent. So if I've got some pro-Russian people coming at me, I'm not going to kill them. That's the intent. What about the Ukrainians? We have the exact opposite. We have the Ukrainian government calling anybody who collaborates with Russia, to include receiving these humanitarian care packages, are now classified as collaborators. And in the specific instance of Bucha, we have the Ukrainian National Police issuing a bulletin speaking of the cleansing of collaborators from Bucha on 1 April. We have a senior Ukrainian government official, a female, issuing instructions via social media, telling the citizens of Bucha that there is a police action taking place, a cleansing operation. Stay indoors, don't panic. He repeats this over and over and over again. And then we have videotapes that show these Ukrainian National Police, including some who are directly affiliated with Azov, actively hunting down and shooting people. So now when I look at all this data, I have to say it's more than likely that the Ukrainians are the perpetrators, because we have intent from their commanders saying treat all pro-Russian collaborators as the enemy. We have an instruction from the National Police that to carry out a cleansing operation. And then we have videotape of the cleansing operation taking place, which involves gunfire from a Ukrainian national policeman towards civilians who aren't wearing the blue armband. So if I were compelled to make a decision based upon this, albeit incomplete data, because I still, if this was going to go to a court, would need some forensic data to back it up. But the first brush is the Ukrainian National Police have done this. Now, why did I feel compelled to tweet? Because normally I wouldn't tweet with incomplete data like this, because it implies I'm drawing a conclusion that normally I would like to associate a lot more hard facts behind before I put my name on it. But the Ukrainian National Police are promulgating a story that says the Russians did it. The Ukrainian government is putting forth a story that said the Russians did it. The Western media is putting forward a story that said the Russians did it. And then Joe Biden got out and said the Russians are doing it, they're war criminals. And so I felt compelled to put a counter narrative out there saying, no, it's the Ukrainian National Police who have committed these crimes. And Biden, and the reason why I picked on Biden is soon after he gave that speech, that announcement, the Pentagon came out and said, hey, buddy, we can't corroborate anything the Ukrainian government's saying. We're not saying it's false, but we're saying we can't say it's true. So the president of the United States is out ahead of its intelligence, meaning he's speaking, I won't use the word, he's just, it's coming out from an orifice that isn't his mouth. And then so therefore,
this from Reuters.
I felt obliged to say, And again, I did the research. You know, these words don't come lightly. I looked up the Nuremberg Tribunal. I looked up what a crime against humanity was. I looked for similar cases that were prosecuted against the Nazis, similar to what I believe the Ukrainian National Police did, and they constitute crimes against humanity. So that's what I said. I also said, looked up, you know, there's a lot of Nazis that were hung by the neck until dead who never pulled a trigger, who never signed a document, you know, ordering death, but they were perpetrators, they were collaborators, they were co-conspirators because of the actions they took. And one of the things is to shift blame away, to try and minimize the impact of the crimes, which is exactly what Joe Biden was doing. So I used my words very carefully, selected from the Nuremberg Tribunal based upon parallel cases that were prosecuted as war crimes. And so I didn't take it lightly. When I said this about Biden, it's because Biden's actions mimic those actions that were condemned as war crimes by the Nuremberg Tribunal.
I see what you
Everything
mean.
I wrote down there was carefully researched. I mean, literally that tweet took me about 30 minutes to research. Right. I don't know how many people spend 30 minutes to write a 288 character tweet, but I do that all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm doubly shocked that they decided to pick that tweet and say you're violating standards. In my appeal, and I wrote a lengthy appeal and I broke it down just as I explained to you. Everything in that thing is fact-based. There's no harassment. There's no targeted harassment. Because if you're
who are you harassing? I don't understand that. Like, is it Biden? Is it the victims?
The Ukrainian National Police and President Biden. It couldn't have been President Biden though, because if I were harassing the President of the United States, Secret Service would take down my door, visit me, you know, pay me a special visit. The same thing with the concept of threatening violence. If I were threatening violence on the president, I'd be in jail, as I should be. There was nothing in my tweet that implied a threat of violence, unless they're talking about being arrested and prosecuted as a, you know, it says right there, you know, that you're wishing or hoping someone experiences physical harm. No, I wasn't wishing or hoping anything. I was stating an opinion. That is, if you're a war criminal, you should be treated as a war criminal. You know? Sorry.
Yeah.